Okay, this is my lemur project for Cubase Pro 8, and it's basically very, very complex. Took me a long time to make. I'm going to start off with, this is the first editing page, basically. Now, up here we have our toolbars that are global to, everything in the project. And then I have basically these commands here are for the timeline, split loop, repeat, crop range. I have some MIDI track chords to MIDI, map to chord track stuff, toggle track, edit in place, all the basic stuff. Now here are some ASCII key commands. This opens Cubase. This will open up my O1B manager. This opens up Reason. This button is basically an Alt F4, which is basically a close window. And I have this button on multiple pages, so I don't ever have to use the mouse. I could just hit that to close a window. And then also an Enter command for dialogues that pop up, so I don't have to basically ever use the mouse or the keyboard, because I have my iPad mounted kind of like right to the left of me, so I still have my hand on the mouse and the iPad's very close. Then only on the first editing page here I have my control room phone source, which these are the 4 external sources, external, mains, and all the 4 phones, and then my control room source, same thing. The external sources, mains, phones, whatnot. Then here I have my speakers. I have 2 sets of speakers currently, my KRKs and my Samsons. And then I have dim reference. Here is my presets for the down mix presets, stereo, mono, 5.1, 2.1. And then I have a talkback in here, which doesn't necessarily have to be on this page, but I have it on this page anyway. Then I have a very complex transport section. These 2 buttons basically do the same thing, right and left. Then here I have, this is rewind. This button here is fast rewind. Then I have bar, left and right. Frame. Then here is locate event, which is the B and N on your keyboard. Select event, which comes in handy a lot. Add next to this will add previous event because it's left, and then a nudge. And the nudge goes on whatever the grid is set at. If it's set to bars, beats, or quantize, that'll nudge the cursor. So, and that's also a nice command if I need something 16th, like if I want to nudge something over 16th notes, I could do that. Same thing here. The loop, basically here is cycle. Then I have play selection, which is a command that I use a lot. So if I'm working on a clip and I just want to hear that clip, I could just play that selection. This one's loop selection, which is basically the same thing, but it'll just loop that selection that I have selected. Then here is a scroll, auto scroll. I play button has play. Play from selection, play until selection, then I have a click track. Stop button has stop. Well, the play button also is play and stop at the same time. So if it's on play, I can keep these 2 are zoom in and zoom out. So if I need to keep them on zoom in and out, I could always stop from the play button. Then I have here my record. Okay. This is re-record function, which basically just acts as a pad. Punch in and undo punch, which are macros, which I'll get into later. They're very complex macros. Now here I have a shuttle command. Now this shuttles the transport all the way from here to here, with this being in the middle. And what's nice is I thought the shuttle command only did increments of of certain times, like say quarters, eighths, 16 times, but it seems to be a variable control. And since it's the whole page of the iPad, it's very precise, you know. And what I like about it, and also what I like about the rewind and stuff, is if I'm shuttling, I can move the shuttle over here and let go of it, and it'll still shuttle. And until I either hit stop or bring the shuttle down. Same thing with the fast forward and rewind. I can hit forward, and it'll just keep on forwarding until I stop it, which I really do like, because sometimes if I'm traveling through say a movie which is an hour and a half, and I have it on fast rewind or fast forward, fast forward, I can just let it go until I need to see where I need to go. And then on the transport, I have generic commands here, which are these are up and down arrows for selecting tracks, up and down. I have my locator, set left, set right, to left, to right. Find channel is a very interesting command that I use often, especially in projects with large track counts. If I need to find a track, all I need to do is hit that and select the track, and then it'll just pop right up. Save, undo, redo. That's common to all of them. Okay, and then we have here. Okay, and here's my second editing page. Now this editing page is concentrated on, this page is, also has the toolbars up here. And then I have my workspaces here. Update workspace, lock, unlock workspace, which I'm going to take out because I don't think you could lock these workspaces anymore. Organize workspaces. Here I have my grid commands, which are for, this switches between bars and beats and quantize. And then the quantize up and down selection. Select all, select none, and marker left and marker right. And then this editing 2 command is generally focused on media bay and loops, and all media functions. Because I have my media bay preview on and off, autoplay on and off. That's for the loop browser. Duplicate. And this is a nice, what I do is when I find a loop, I just can hit this button, insert the project at cursor, which is instead of double clicking a loop and putting on a separate track, I could just put them all on the same track. Open close editor, solo off, mute, solo, and then on my track versions, all my track version commands here. And also again, like I said in the other page, my close window and enter command are also here, which I use a lot. My control room volume, which is basically on every page, but I don't have all those extended control room commands. I don't really need those. Same transport here as before. Okay, now we have our main editing control. Same thing, toolbars, grids, these are all the same. Cut, copy, and paste. The control room all the same. This one concentrates more on events, because I have all my fades, increment, fade in and out, standard fades, fades to range, and these are all my commands for nudging, event starts, event ends, the actual event, and the loop. Nudge up and down, the duplicate tracks. Now this is a very cool macro that I came up with. What this macro does is, I'll go into macros in more detail, but if I'm printing an external effect or any effect onto a track, what this will do is this will run the render in place. Okay, it'll go to the track that's being rendered, and what it'll do is create a new track version, move the rendered track up to the new track version, and then the final command in the macro is to name that track version. So if I'm running a track through an external compressor, all I need to do is hit that button and run on my render and play settings. It'll do the whole render. It'll delete the render track, put it on the other track's new track version, and name it. Which is very cool, because if I have to go back and redo it, I have the original right underneath it as the previous track version. And let's see what else we got here. Now I have my mixer controls. These are visibility agents here. The new undo, redo, update's a very important one. Then I have two toolbars set up here. The select tool and arrange tool, which are most my common used one. Select track, add previous, add next, which comes in handy for the agents. So if I'm going to show all tracks, these are basically mixer agents, and this will sync the project and the mixer together. The close window and enter command, like I said, which are global to basically all the pages. It just saves me from hitting the mouse to close the X on the window. I could just use that. Then here I have in my mixer page, I have the view routings, expand, view pre, sends, inserts, queues, direct routing, and expand them. Because those are basically the most common ones I use. And then I have my add track functions, add video marker, audio. The reason why I put a numeric keyboard in here is because if I add, say if I add mono track or audio track, sometimes the dialog comes about how many tracks you want to enter. So I could just say add audio, hit 5, and then enter. It'll add me 5 audio tracks. Then I have a couple macros in here. Add tracks to folder. So I can select the tracks, add them to a folder, add them to a group, add the tracks to a VCA group link, and same thing, expand the transport here. Now my navigation page. Navigation page has all my zoom functions. Numeric keyboard here, I'll explain what that is for. Now these are 9 markers. Okay, now this is the same setup as the transport. What I have in here is 4 switches that do, this will do a 2 marker. This is a macro that does locate and zoom to cycle marker 1. This will go to cycle marker, just locate it, and this will set marker 1. And this is all for 9 markers. So it comes nice and handy because I could use the cycle markers as zoom markers if I wanted to. If I wanted to cycle out a chorus and then I wanted to zoom to it, I could just locate and zoom to the chorus of the song. Now here, marker X's and cycle marker X's, and a lot of times in large projects, especially with film, I'll have in upwards of 50 or so markers. So if I need to go to, say, scene 35, I press that, and then just type in 3, 5, boom. And it'll take me right to marker 35. Same thing with regular markers. If I have markers, say a scene markered out with regular locator markers, I could do the same thing. Now here, the locators follow marker selection. I could turn off or on, and I usually keep that off unless if I'm mixing down a marker, I'll leave that off. But like I said, this is what I did have before is I had numeric buttons set up I had like 50 buttons set up, so I could just hit, 2 marker X and then hit like 35, 36 to 50. But it took up too much real estate, and the keypad works just as well. So all I need to do is press 2 cycle marker, 47, 23, 56, whatever, boom. Same thing, enter and close window here. That's global to almost every page. Here's a simpler transport. Just rewind, fast forward, cycle, play, stop, and record. And the set left and undos and all that stuff. That's global to, it's not an extended transport, but it's just a basic one, because this page I don't really use the transport that much. Okay, now here I have my quantize and preferences page. It says all my quantized values. Save, undo, redo. I have no transport in here. Preferences, these are mostly the ones I use the most. I'm going to change a couple of these because I noticed that these really don't have any function. They don't really do anything. And the ones I use a lot is this one, solo on selected track. This is very nice. What it means is if you hit solo and you scroll up and down tracks, the solo will go to the selected track. And that's very cool for a page that I'll show you in a minute. Default send level, it rotates between 0, I think minus 30 and infinity. Select track on solo. These are a few of them which I use transport events a lot, return to start a lot, mute pre-send almost all the time. And then also I have my snap functions here with the grid events, slip events, all this, grid, shuffle, all those commands. Okay, now it starts to get complex. And this is my automation page. All my toolbars up here. Save, undo, redo. This is also a simpler transport. And I also have a separate slip cursor and shuttle. This was my original transport. It came up before I had that extended one. These actually are going to go because these don't seem to do anything either. Basically, I have all my automation functions in here that I use, the grids, all that stuff. Then, this is a basic channel strip. This is for a single channel for automation purposes. Now this has an interesting feature that I picked up on the forum. It's called a follower. This is the actual this is the volume, and this volume is the actual volume fader. But if I could put this on a value and I have a speed command and I hit run, the fader will go to that value what I select. And it's really handy for automating volumes and pans because they come out very smooth. So if I need to ride a level of a vocal, say a couple dBs, all I need to do is set it up, hit the run button, and the volume will go as fast or slow as I want it to, up and down. Same thing with the pan. If I need to pull something from the center all the way to the left or right, I use the value and then the speed and hit run, and it'll just slowly move it, or quickly, smoothly to where I want it, and back to the center. And it's a very, very interesting command. And I have my extended transport in here. Now this is the same channel strip, only with 5.1 pattern. This is based on an XY ball, which is cool because I can restrict the movements, put center. If I have my friction all the way down, the ball will just bounce around. And it's a very cool effect, even if you have it in stereo, by just having the ball go back and forth. It's almost like an auto pan. But in a surround mode, it kind of randomly just rotates around. And none of the surround panners can do that. And it's very slick. And here I have my center and sub channels, which are actually what they are is send 7 and 8 on the channels. Because in the Cubase, there's no way to control the level of the center or sub through a generic remote. So I made this, and it does work, and it works cool because I can put it on pre or post, or have it follow the channel volume. Here again, we have our follower volume with the speed and that control room level and all of them. Okay, then I have an EQ page set up with all my EQs, simpler transport, control room volume. These are inserts. This I could bypass and turn on and off the inserts. Now in Cubase, when you bypass an insert, it doesn't take it out of the processing, especially with the UAD plugins. You actually physically have to turn them off. So without this page, I'd actually have to open up the plugin, then turn it off and close it. here all I have to do is just turn it on and off from here. Then edit the plugins. This will pull up the plugins on the selected channel. Find channel again comes very in handy when I had to just find a track in a large, track pool. I just hit that, and then if I need to edit any of the plugins, and these are also bi-directional, so they show up what plugins are on and off, and it's great. Then I have my quick controls, which are quick controls for the VST instruments, and these are basically identical pages, and then quick controls for track quick controls. Then I go down to my sends page. Sends page has the same thing to follow with the volume. Now this is very, very cool because if I'm pulling up a delay, I can pull it up nice and smooth, and then pull it back down nice and smooth. And when I automate it, like I said, it's a very smooth value, and it's very subtle. It's almost like the delay just appearing and disappearing transparently in the song. And I could just use these as regular faders also, if I wanted to just move them manually if I'm automating, or just press my finger on any part of this area will take the send to that level. Then that's 1 through 4, and then 5 through 8, and also the extended transport. Then I have here MIDI control page. This is a generic mixer, just a generic controller, which is generic CC values, generic XY controller. Same thing. This is basically the same as the 5.1 pattern. These are switches, basically just generic controllers for anything, and it works very well in Reason because Reason has a nice auto learn function. I could just quickly set them up. Then I have a loop mash control page that controls the loop mash effect plugin that's mapped out. Then finally on that page are pads, and this works very well with the chord pads because I also have a range section. This is actually from one of the factory presets, which a buddy of mine on the forum added a velocity slider into me. So, I could just hit these and just activate the chord pads. It's very, very interesting. And these are also generic CC commands. I put a sustain in here for the chords if I wanted to hold the chord out, and very simple transport. Then I have a tracking page. And this page is everything I need to track a project with. I'll explain in further detail about my punch-ins, how I do the punch-ins. It's a very, very easy and very cool, and probably the best way I've ever designed to punch in and punch out. I have my headphones section, the cues, be on mix, cue, or external. These are talkback volumes, talkback on or off. These are all the 4 headphone volumes, channel volume, channel pan, and then I also have the control room level and control room phone level, and I can also listen to any one of the phone mixes if I want to. And here's my talkback, and once again extended transport section, and then a few basic commands I use with tracking. New track version, add a new track, mute solo off, zoom map. That comes in very handy when setting up punch-in points. The double command I'll get into later. That's a macro that will unarm the track, go to the next track, double it, arm it, and then go to punch-in. So if I wanted to do some quick doubles, I just need to hit that one button, and it will automatically just double the track for me.